You made it last session of the last day, and look at you. You look okay. Let's try to wake you up a little bit with a lot of fun. We're going to talk about... so, I switched the talks. This morning, I saw Scott's keynote, and I'm like, okay, I want to talk about something else. We're going to talk about platform engineering. We're going to talk about developer productivity. We're going to talk about how all of it relates to DevOps, and I hope it'll kind of sum up what you saw here in those 2 days. So I told you I'm going to wake you up because we're going to talk about conspiracy theory. So this is the conspiracy theory chart that goes from okay, it might be true, all the way to like out of this world and completely detached to reality. I'm pretty sure that my conspiracy theory is down there, somewhere grounded in truth, and I have evidence to prove it. Yeah, so as Sergio mentioned, my name is Baruch Sadogurski, and I'm developer productivity advocate at Gradle. Awesome t-shirts, also very nice tools. If you ever worked with something JVM related, you probably know about Gradle. If you didn't, ask your fellow Java developer and they will tell you that they have opinions about Gradle. That's fine, let's leave it with that. My background is I started as a developer, Java developer before it had generics, very long time ago. And then with JFrog, we kind of went all the way into DevOps, all the rage. You probably use this tool as well. And now I landed in Gradle when I actually care about developer productivity engineering. So kind of almost full circle, which gives me perspective to talk about a lot of stuff and how it relates to DevOps. Co-author of a couple of books, DevOps Tools for Java Developers, kind of Java and DevOps and what's not, and Liquid Software. Take a look. Both, I think, good books, but they were very hard to write, so I guess it makes them good. Maybe not. Okay, the most important slide of this presentation is this. So if you go to speaking.jbaruch, you will find there, the slides are already there, the video I'm recording right now. Let's hope I tapped all the correct buttons and it is recording. And all the links, whatever you saw before that, the conspiracy chart and my bio and all the books are there, and everything that I'm going to mention from here now on, everything is there. Now, you can always go there as easy as possible. To make it even easier, I put it in the bottom of every slide, together with my Twitter handle, or is it like X handle, whatever, but you know what to do and why it's there. Also, if you do mention this talk, please don't forget to tag the DevOps Talks Twitter handle and the hashtag DPE, that stands for Developer Productivity Engineering. If you Google it, you might find other opinions on what it stands for. We're hijacking it from now on. It's Developer Productivity Engineering and not some weird French real estate regulation acronym. No, something electricity, I don't know. Yeah, so anyway, you know what it is? But you know what DPE probably stands for? No, that is good. So developer productivity engineering, right there. All right, so as I mentioned, I started very long time ago as a developer and then kind of dragged into DevOps. And what I'm going to prove to you right now, with evidence, is that DevOps is a plot of ops people to make us, the developers, work harder. I have a proof. Exhibit number 1, the Phoenix Project. Everybody know about the book, right? Most of you read the book. If you didn't read it, that's okay. Because my proof is you don't even need to open the book. The proof is on the cover. The cover of this book features all the main characters, and I'm going to walk with you one by one of all the characters. The text is a little bit small, I will read it. Patty McKee, she's Director of IT Service Support. She is an IT person and Ops person. Wes, he is a Director of Distributed Technology Ops. He's obviously an Ops person. Then we have Sarah, she's the antagonist, and she is obviously in marketing and sales, obviously. We have Steve, who is the CEO, and he's kind of the boss of the protagonist, and Dick Laundrie, the CFO, and then we have the protagonist, who is VP of IT Ops. He is the ops guy that kind of discovers DevOps and wins, right? So he's obviously an ops guy. And then we have Eric, the board of directors members, who knows about theory of constraints, and who read the book The Goal, and then he kind of feeds the book The Goal to Bill, which kind of does the same, and then it's like all DevOps, okay, fine. And then we have Brent, who is the lead sysadmin, ops sysadmin, obviously, and then John, who is in security. Do you notice anything funny? Who is not here? Developers. Not a single developer in this, well, developers are in the book, obviously, pictured in the not the best light, right? They are the people who write their code, and then it's like, okay, it's 5 p.m., I'm done, and then they go home. I mean, the problem is the silos and the fact that developers kind of don't care about production and lead the ops people out to dry. And this is kind of what DevOps is supposed to solve. But, you know, there are no developers in the book. Exhibit number 2. Who is trying to sell DevOps to the world? If you go to Google and ask what is DevOps, let's see who preaches that DevOps is so important. So we see Amazon. Amazon, it's in the essence an ops platform, right? They have like servers and Kubernetes and other infrastructure ops stuff. The same with Atlassian. Atlassian call themselves the DevOps company. And then GitLab, well, obviously, right, what GitLab does. And then Microsoft with Azure, same ops. And who else? TechTarget, they're just journalists. Wikipedia, fine. Synopsys is observability, and it's all DevOps. Logs.io, logs, obviously ops. And then IBM, they also sell like Kubernetes stuff. Right, so if you ask why DevOps is important, why do you need to do DevOps, bunch of ops people will come to you and say, hey, DevOps is really good, you really should do DevOps, right? All ops people. So basically, it's all ops people. The question is why? One might think that it's because of money, because everything is because of money. Why would you do that assumption? So first of all, here is a naive question. There is an ops person that wants to become a DevOps person. What they should do? And here is one of the very highly voted answers that say, okay, you just learn a bunch of stuff, including Gits, whatever it is, but also like Linux and fundamental and client computing and blah, blah, blah. And then you were ops person, system administrator. Next thing you know, you are a DevOps person. Isn't it great? And then you go from a system administrator salary, whatever it is, to DevOps engineer salary, which is almost doubled, which is sweet. Basically, you are a system administrator one day, you earn Gits, and then you are a DevOps engineer the next day. How sweet is that? Well, and then obviously, next thing you know, we are in the middle of whatever downturn, recession, and layoffs, and still there are 20,000 open positions for DevOps engineers only in the United States. And also, next thing you know, there are certifications about DevOps engineers. And the same ops companies that preach to us how important DevOps is now making money by selling us meaningless certificates of DevOps engineers. Now, I hate it big time, and we're going to come back to that, why I hate it big time, in just a minute. But you know what? I don't think it's about the money. At least it didn't start about the money. The money is the effect, not the cause, and the cause is something else. So you all know this. This is the DevOps infinity diagram. It does look familiar, doesn't it? Anyone knows what it reminds them of? This, right? Agile, DevOps, like development circle. It's basically the same, but now the developers not only have to plan and code and build and test, but also do all the ops stuff. Release, deploy, operate, and monitor. So basically we say, you know, developers, we liked so much what you did, but also do this part, which is our part. Just because it's DevOps, it's cool, right? We know it's cool. And Exhibit C, State of DevOps Report. One of the most important documents in the DevOps industry, you are obviously familiar with that. And I want to dig through the DevOps report, and I will show you the science that everything that DevOps is concerned about, it's actually ops constraints, ops issues. Right, so this is one of the most important slides that is talking about how elite performers perform much better than like low performers, and especially what's important, that they have more time to do new work. That obviously makes perfect sense. The more time the team has to do new work, the more successful this team is. Now, what I want to show you is how the DevOps report and the Accelerate book and the DevOps handbook and every DevOps literature define what new work is and what rework is. So type of works according to DevOps. Planned work, business projects and new features. That makes perfect sense. Internal projects, server migrations, software updates, and so on. This is very, very ops. Changes driven by feedback on completed work, fine. Unplanned work, support escalations and emergency outages. How ops is it? It's very interesting, but it's not really relevant to developers, because according to developers, there is new features, which is writing code, there is refactoring, which is writing code, and there is bug fixes, which is writing code. No outages, no server migrations, nothing in the types of work according to DevOps actually has anything to do with developers, because it's all ops. So I hope by now I proved to you that DevOps is a plot of ops people to make the developers work harder. Which is fine. You know, it's fine because this is what should happen. There is really no reason that ops people should be out there left with the code that is not working and staying all night long to make this code work, right? I mean, DevOps is a solution for ops pain, but this pain is real, and this pain is important to the organization. And in the end of the day, an attempt to fix this pain is justifiable. I'm not trying to say that it's bad that DevOps came about, obviously not. But what I'm trying to say is that our kind of attempt to say, hey, DevOps is for everybody, developers will benefit from it, doesn't really work. It's much more like that. It's much more like the managers try to shove DevOps into developers' throats, and you know what? After 10 years of trying to convince the developers that DevOps is great for them, they are still not convinced. And our goal is to actually try to bring them on board, not by plots and trying to say, hey, it's actually fine for you, you want it, right? And not by forcing them into DevOps, by finding something which will be beneficial from for developers as well. Funny story. If you try to Google a GIF that goes from sad to funny or to happy, they're unknown for some reason. All the GIFs that you can find is people are smiling and then they kind of go to crying, but not the other way around. I don't know why. Never mind. So yeah, back to my rage about about DevOps engineers and the DevOps engineer certifications, right? So I have an obsession, and my obsession is DevOps engineer is not a thing. DevOps engineer is not a thing because DevOps engineer makes as much sense as collaboration engineer. DevOps is a collaboration methodology. It's not an engineering. So as much as collaboration engineer don't make sense, DevOps engineer also doesn't make sense. And then you can take Baruch command. Why do you even care? People know what they mean. It's a common term. Everybody are happy. Everybody are making money out of it. Who cares about the term? Well, I care about the term because it actually does damage to our industry, and I'm going to tell you how. Now, if you have a bunch of DevOps engineers, what the organization is going to do with the bunch of DevOps engineers is they're going to put them in a DevOps team. Who works in the organization or knows about the organization that has DevOps team? Yeah, more than one, right? Now, you know what the problem with DevOps team? That we are back to the exact problem that DevOps tried to solve. We created a silo, which is actually an ops silo, which will have the exact same problems with the dev silo that we try to solve. Yes, now the DevOps engineers know Gits. Does it help them? Not really, because when there is a DevOps team, devs are going to throw their work across the fence and go home at 5 p.m. because we have a DevOps team, they will manage. We are back in square one. And then someone needs to come with the solution. How about we invent a methodology that will help us bridge the gap between the development team and the DevOps team. We're going to call it DevOps. So it's not about, we don't care about how developer engineers are called. It's about DevOps have a meaning. And if we distort this meaning, we didn't fix the problem, but we managed to come back to it after 10 years of trying to explain to people what DevOps is. But jokes aside, we need a term for the engineering aspect of DevOps, right? There is work to be done. All those YAML files are not going to write themselves. So we need a good name for that. And this name exists. If we look back again, 10 years of explaining how SRE implements DevOps, it's pretty clear that site reliability engineering is the engineering implementation of DevOps concepts, right? It's not something new. The problem is no one wants to be a site reliability engineer. And this is a true story. JFrog, when I worked, one day I realized that JFrog has DevOps team. Now, I almost had a heart attack because, that's my obsession. DevOps team is not a thing. So I go to the manager of this team and I tell them, hey, what are you doing? We are a DevOps company. How can we have a DevOps team? Those people are actually SREs and your team is SRE team, which is fine. Why do you call them DevOps team? Why do you call those people DevOps engineers? It doesn't make sense. And he's like, they don't want to be SREs. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, they feel that site reliability engineering is about keeping the jfrog.com website up and running. which is not very exciting. They don't want to be in this. They want to do like DevOps stuff. And I keep hearing it again and again. I mean, I know that whoever came up with the term meant something else. The site is not a website, and reliability is not only keeping it up and running, but in the end of the day, when people hear site reliability engineer, they think, okay, this WordPress website should be up all day. And no one wants to be site reliability engineer. Last couple of years, we have a solution. And this solution called the platform engineering. And Scott this morning told us DevOps engineers are rebranding themselves as platform engineers. I don't know if you saw me, I was so happy to hear that. Finally, DevOps term won't be abused. And you know what? Platform engineers are all the rage, and it's fine. Everybody wants to be a platform engineer, and I, for one, am very happy about it. Now, if you Google what platform engineering is, you know what? It's getting there. It's getting there. A lot of this actually explains how platform engineering is the implementation of DevOps, the technical implementation of DevOps, and those are actually great news. Now, obviously, we cannot do a conference talk in 2023 without ChatGPT. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked, what is platform engineering in a sentence? And ChatGPT told me, platform engineering is about building and managing scalable infrastructure and services that enable developers to efficiently deploy and run applications. This is perfect. That's exactly what the technical implementation of DevOps is, right? Those people enable developers to deploy their own servers. So in other words, this is the people who write all the YAMLs for the organization? Yes, it is. How awesome it is. Perfect name for the perfect title. It's great. So yeah, in the end of the day, platform engineer is what intended to be SRE. And those are great news. I'm actually very, very happy about it. But there is something missing. Let's look at our definition of DevOps throughout the years and see what's going on with that. Right, so it started with a very naive and stupid Venn diagram. This Venn diagram didn't make any sense. Because what it actually does mean, that someone who is there in the middle, like your pre-verbal DevOps engineer, should know everything about Dev and Ops and QA. By the way, where is security here in the picture? Well, how about product? How about like tons of other aspects? Well, so forgot about that. But yeah, no, this doesn't make a lot of sense. What does make more sense is this. DevOps is something that's in the middle between people, process, and tools. Now, this is interesting, right? But still, people what? Process what? How about DevOps is about how we make productive people working with within productive process with productive tools. Productive DevOps. Now, if we get that out of DevOps, I think this is what all of us in the end of the day want. Now, large pieces of this puzzle is already solved. We know what productive process means. This is your empowered teams. This is your ops people and dev people and QA people and security people work together on a product that the user actually wants, and they make it happen, and they make it happen fast and in good quality and what's not. This is solved. Productive tools, kind of, sort of, yeah, Kubernetes is productive tool, sure. But okay, I mean, people try to convince themselves that it is, and it's fine with me. Maybe, you know what, how about Backstage? This is a productive tool. Again, all the rage. But how about productive people? What makes the engineers, and namely the developers, productive? So developers write code, right? And this is fine. This is kind of their job. But are they doing it in the most productive way possible? The pain is actually real. Gradle did a survey that the results are very clear. 90% of the organizations experience challenges with too much time spent waiting on a build and test feedback. Now let me ask you something. Who of you think that their local builds, local, not CI and not like pre-production, but local builds of the developers, themselves and the developers, are fast enough? Well, there is one gentleman here. I'm going to put you on the spot. You are brave and you are going to pay for it. How fast it is that you think that it's fast? Give me a number. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, including tests. 2 minutes is very good for a local build. Now, your developers, are you running this build or? Yeah, you're running this build. So you have 2 minutes build when you run it, and you obviously run it often. That's your local build. That's how you know that your software is working. What do you do in those 2 minutes? You have two options. You stare at your logs running for 2 minutes, or you're like, you know what, I'm going to check my email. What do you do? Sometimes both, one or the other? Mostly both. So sometimes you stare at the build and sometimes you go and read an email. What do you think affects your productivity in a bad way, like affects your productivity more? Just wasting 2 minutes on looking at the logs, or doing something like being multitasking? What is better for productivity? Staring at the monitor is actually better for the productivity, of course. I have another talk about it, about context switching, cognitive load that comes with it. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner, is there with me on this talk, but it's a different talk. But yes, you are now running this build and you are staring for 2 minutes at your monitor. Now, if it was 30 seconds, would it be better? Yes, it would. So when you raise your hand that your build is fast enough, you actually meant, I assume it's faster than everybody else in the room, and you were right, but it's not fast enough. So yeah, you are here right there with 90%, and the pain is real. What else there? Too much time spent waiting for build and test, we already spoke about it. Inability to easily troubleshoot and determine the root cause of build, test, and CI failures. Oh, flaky tests. Who loves flaky tests? Everybody loves flaky tests. You know what I mean by flaky tests, right? It says that sometimes pass and sometimes fail. Anyone has any idea why? Usually not. Does it behave consistently with your local environment and CI? For sure not. My favorite is we download an image from Docker Hub, and it's a part of our test. And it works just fine for everybody when they work from home, but it fails in the CI. Because Docker Hub has a limitation on how much you can pull, the CI has the single IP, so it does it more than your local build. You have no idea that it's even happening, right? This kind of stuff, it's fun. Only 65%, I'm surprised that it's not more. 59%, insufficient observability of analytics on build and test performance and regression, failure trends and productivity bottlenecks. Well, that's only 59% because the rest of the people, the other 40%, don't think about it. But if they would probably vote for that too. The trend of local builds throughout your team is going upwards. The builds are getting slower across the board. Do you want to know why? You do want to know why. Do you know why? You have no idea. Right? So yeah, there is an engineering discipline that deals with that. And it's called developer productivity engineering. Remember I promised you we are going to hijack the hashtag? So now you know that there is this engineering discipline, and you know that it solves your pains. I expect you, after this talk, that all of you are going on Twitter using the hashtag DPE and hijacking it from the stupid French build regulations website or whatever it is. Because this is way more important, obviously, with all the respect to French build regulations. So what is developer productivity engineering? There are, I would say, I don't remember how, 7 pillars of developer productivity engineering. The first and the most important is foster faster feedback. I love it. FFF. Foster faster feedback. Try to say it. Less context switching. We spoke about that. If your build is 10 seconds, you don't have the impulse to go and check your email, which is great. Eliminate toll for developers. We actually need to fight for it, right? If we just do enough, the toil will be everywhere. There will be manual processes, there will be slower builds. Actively eliminating toll for developers, that's another effort that we need to do. Collaborate through effective tooling. Takes us all the way back to the platforms, it's Code's keynote, and to the discussion about Backstage in our Telegram channel that if you didn't join yet, you should. This is effective tooling for collaboration that fosters developer productivity. Prioritize automation and eliminate bottlenecks. Boom! Theory of constraints, Phoenix project, DevOps principles, everything is right there. It's the same as we do it for Ops. We want to build pipeline that will deploy to production automatically? Yes. Do we want to automate those manual tasks that developers do? Also yes, for the same reasons. Embrace rigorous observability for proactive improvement. Again, very DevOps-y tenet, right? DevOps does it, observability is all the rage. We should do it for developer productivity as well. Dedicated organizational mindset. Now, this is something that is completely different from DevOps for a very good reason. DevOps, we say, we don't want a DevOps team. We don't want DevOps engineers. We want DevOps to be on everybody's mind because everybody in the organization touches product release. Developers don't have to be DevOps engineers because they write code that goes to production. Platform engineers don't have to be DevOps engineers because they enable this platform, they enable the code progression from developer to production. Everybody do DevOps. With developer productivity engineering, it's completely different because it will trend to escape our focus because we're all focused on product delivery. Who has time to automate some obscure test? Who has time to invest in shaving another 10 seconds of local build? No one. We're busy. We're doing the product. We have a release next month. So this is something that needs to be forced. We have to have an organizational mindset to invest in it because that's exactly type of who has time for that actually costs us more than we gain by ignoring it or deferring it. And this is how the best organizations out there, your Spotify's and Netflix's and LinkedIn's and you name them, they all have developer productivity engineering teams that make sure that those aspects are not forgotten. Outcomes over output. Again, very DevOps-y way of thinking. Meaningful outcomes over sheer output, right? We need to resist the noise and make sure that we select only the right information. And it actually works. So if we look at the organization who use who implement DevOps productivity engineering in their organizations, you can see here how DP dramatically improves productivity, 84% agrees. Or developer productivity engineering fosters developer joy, 84% agrees. So I guess my point out of this talk is that developer productivity engineering is your next evolutionary step. As DevOps was the next step of Agile, and Agile was the next step of just-in-time manufacturing. This is how your developer productivity engineering is the next evolutionary step to invest in after DevOps. And in the end of the day, DevOps, as I mentioned, is mainly solves ops concerns, but it's fine. We need to remember that it's a collaborative methodology and it needs engineering implementation. Call it SRE, call it DevOps, call it platform engineering, just don't call it DevOps engineering. And someone has to write all those YAML files. But what about people productivity? This is where developer productivity engineering has an answer, and it's another pillar of DevOps engineering implementation. You go to speaking.jbaruch, you can find all the resources there. The interesting and actionable items there are, you can actually try and speed up your local build today by taking the Gradle and Maven Speed challenge if you are in the JVM area. You can be the DP agent of change by joining our advocacy platform and joining the movement. You can read the DP handbook, which is also there, and DP Summit is happening actually week after next in San Francisco. I don't know how many of you can just decide they're going to fly the day after, the week after next to San Francisco, but the videos will be published there, so keep an eye for them. There are also last year, which are great. So with that, thank you very much. JBaruch, including in Telegram, by the way, if you want to ask me questions in our channel. DevOps Talks, that's the Twitter handle of this awesome conference. When you praise Scott's talk and other talks, don't forget to mention DevOps Talks. And then speaking.jbaruch, this is where you find all the information. The slides are there, the video, if I did everything correctly, and all the links, including the action items that I mentioned. With that, thank you very much for coming to this awesome conference. And I know that you stayed for the raffle of the books. It's happening right now. Thank you.